Good afternoon, Kieran.
Good afternoon. Good to see
you. How
you.
are you today?
Yeah, we're doing really good. Really good. Very good. Very good morning. Lots done. Lots to do. That makes me a happy person, Peter.
I like it. A bit of nip in the air, but plenty of sunshine. I'll take it. I'll take it. So Kieran, tell me a little about yourself and your business, please.
Yeah, I run a business called Digital Automation Robotics Limited. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but it describes all the things that I do. So I specialize on software robotics, anything IT related, anything future work, and companies come and talk to me for that. They come and talk to me about social media branding, again, on the digital side of things. They come to talk to me about writing technical white papers for them and any piece of software that's out in the market. And they come and talk about executive coaching as well. So I have a bit of a varied business, but I do the things that are fun and exciting for me, and that gets me out of bed every day.
Very good, very good. Now, I obviously am an expert in robotics and that sort of things, but for anyone that might listen that might not be, yes, for example, so can you, in layman's terms, share a little bit of your knowledge, please, on your field of expertise?
Yeah, a lot of people are used to seeing now robots in factories, or if you look at Amazon warehouses or Ocado, you see all these little images of these little R2D2 characters moving around the place. Mine's different. It's not real robots, it's software robotics. So what happens is you do something on a computer screen. So let's imagine you're an accountant. You're doing month-end trial balances, you're taking invoices, you're taking the data out of those and entering that data into a spreadsheet or into a database of some sort. Well, I code the computer program that does that for a person. So that means then that those people who are doing vital work as accountants, for example, or HR, whatever process, can then be freed up to do work that is even more valuable than before. So if you can automate and you can digitize processes within a business, usually within a services business, then I can come in and I can make all that happen, which normally frees people up from what is great work, but it's rather mundane, it's rather repetitive, it's rather monotonous, or else they're not going to be available. So for example, I can work with conversational AI or chatbots so that when you're not there during the business evening, weekend, or whatever else, then all these things can run the business outside of your hours. All the work's done for you in the morning, and customers who are now more digitally demanding and expect you to be there 24/7, they can get answers to their business questions. And then that is a tremendous help to customers, a tremendous help to business. And then the real value is what people do with that time. So if you're in sales and I gave you back 8 hours of your day or 40 hours in a particular week, you could make another 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 sales calls. You're converting at 20% with 10 grand per sales call. That's a lot of potential revenue that you can now get when you're not doing the mundane, and something, in this instance, a computer program, is doing that for you.
Fantastic. That's a really, really cool explanation. So thank you very much for sharing. What would you say have been your biggest learnings in business and in life?
I use this phrase, Peter, and I say it to everyone. And don't ask me where I learned it, but I loved it the moment I heard it. And it was, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're also right. And I don't know whether it was us brought up in Northern Ireland behind our mummy's knees, but we're very often told that's not for you, or you shouldn't be doing that. I don't tell that to my kids, and I no longer tell it to myself. And I could have been years ago my harshest critic, saying, don't do it, don't start. No one will buy your product. No one will be interested in your book. Nobody's interested in what you've got to say or whatever else. And, 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years ago, I lost that attitude. I got that through some executive coaching. I worked with someone who was really good and did some courses on it. And then went, well, look, the only person who's actually hampering me in business is me. And therefore I decided not to do it for that particular day, but it is a practice. And every day I tell myself, today's going to be amazing. I'm going to do great things. And if I have a bad day, I always remember it's a bad day, not a bad life. So if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you're also right. I suggest, like me, you pick the first option, and then you'll be amazed at what actually happens.
Fantastic. Well, we're almost at Halloween. And by spooky coincidence, that is also one of my favorite quotes. And that actually came from Henry Ford. That's where that came from. Absolutely. So there you go. That was,
I now know who.
That was not rehearsed. Nobody will believe it, but that was not rehearsed. There you go. There you go. Brilliant. Brilliant. So who's been the best coach or mentor that you've ever had, Kieran?
Yeah, I struggle with that question a little bit. And the reason I struggle a little bit, Peter, is that for years, we're told to read management books, or for years we're told to look at so-called gurus, the Gates and the Musks and the whatever else in the world. And then what you end up doing is potentially living someone else's life, because someone says it and they look from the outside to be successful. And we don't understand, everybody's challenges and whether they're a great person or not a great person in real life. I did all that. I've read so many books. It's phenomenal. I think Amazon owe me. I think their share price in recent years has been down to what I'm spending on my credit card on them. But ultimately, I look to this. You yourself as an individual, if you're happy with your own company, if you believe you can do something, then you would be amazed the results that you get. And when I'm teaching or coaching anyone, what is it the best they can be? And my answer is be the best you that you can be. And who should be your hero? Be your own hero. And it doesn't mean you're vainglorious or, you're looking at yourself in the mirror going, aren't I great? But if you have total faith in yourself and you believe you can do it, and if you play to your own personal strengths and instead of trying to put yourself into someone else's box, then normally you can be really, really great at what you do. It doesn't mean that you read some books. Like I have a go-to selection, like Change Your Questions, Change Your Life, Judge Your Minder, Judge Your, I can't even say, well, Judge Your Learner Mindset, or Covey's Quadrants, or The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, brilliant leadership books. But I don't suggest anybody tries to become any of those individuals. Just be your best you. Take the bits that you learn from others, be your own hero, enjoy every single day and make it count for yourself. And don't worry about what other people say or think or do, or don't worry about living someone else's life. Live your own and have fun doing that.
Fantastic. And who's the first person that comes to mind when I say the word success?
And again, it probably relates to that last question because it's easy to point to someone. So if I look at Warren Buffett, then if you want someone who has created a vast amount of wealth, then you have to compliment that chap for all the work that he's done. But here's the rub. Warren Buffett's the face of the company, but he's actually had a business partner for years that very few know about. And when someone once said to me, are there great heroes? Well, there are great heroes in business. And again, you have to be careful separating the, generating vast amount of wealth and then making a dramatic impact in the world in the right way. And he's talked about giving away his money, and I know he does. But every hero's got a team behind them as well. So from a financial perspective, Warren Buffett has to be right up there with, long-term investment, wiseness in terms of market, creating vast amounts of wealth for others. But there's a team around that individual that are often the unsung heroes. And to be a leader and a brilliant brilliant success, you need a team around you of some sort, cheering you on or helping you to do the work or filling in the gaps where you're just not brilliant at particular things. Play to your strengths and find those individuals who can surround you or complement you or challenge you. That you will find aid your success, and then you can be the most successful person that you want to be yourself.
What would you say, Kieran, that you've learned about yourself during your journey?
Yeah, I probably go back to what I said earlier on, Peter, which is, if I look back, decades ago, and I've probably been in business about 30 years, I would say that early on in my career, I probably held myself back a little bit. I had that mindset. You come from a very small town, or what was a small town there in Enniskillen, and then you seen the big smoke or Belfast at the time. And then I lived in England, and all the time you're almost in awe of all the things that are happening in the world around you. And you would have probably, or more often than not, told yourself what you can't do and what you shouldn't have and what you shouldn't try. And, you looked at others and you went, it's their success. Now, I've always been a pretty confident individual. So even that, it wasn't the biggest deal in the world saying those things, but I know I held myself back. It was when I got executive coaching, when I sat down and looked at who was holding me back from achieving absolutely everything that I could potentially achieve, then I found that that person was me. And it goes back to that quote, if I think I can, I will. If I think I can't, I won't. And I decided that I darn well would. And then when you combine that with a phrase, someone once said, you only live once. Well, no, actually, you only die once. And therefore, you might as well live every day. And I fill my days. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. But if I can't get the things done when I'm alive, I'm going to have a hell of a job trying to get stuff done when I'm dead. So I might as well stuff 7 days a week with as much fun and as much impact as I can, and then look back on that. And the only thing I will regret in life is not taking a risk. or not trying something. And my dreadfully wonderful habit is the moment I hear myself saying, well, why, I immediately pivoted to why not. And if I tell myself no, I immediately say yes. And I just jump in both feet forward. And I've had some of the most amazing experiences over the last 15 to 20 years that you cannot describe. And long may that continue. More to do.
Right, and what's the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your business?
It's like everything. So it's growing the client base. And my client base tends to be international because I do a lot of work online and digital. And at the early stages, it's like everything in life. You need the money, you need to grow the business. So you take on work that you overwork just to get money in the door. Whereas if I look at it, when you're a lot fussier about the work and who you will work with, and when you stick to a price that represents your true value, then you feel a heck of a lot better. So mine is finding ever increasing numbers of clients who will pay the money that you deserve to get paid. And I'm very competitive, but I've decades of business experience. And if it takes me an hour to do something, you're not paying for that 1 hour. You're paying for the last 20, 30 years of everything I've learned and every single mistake I've made. And by goodness, I've made a load. You're paying for all that to avoid that in a 1 hour time scale. And now at the moment, one of my biggest challenges is I've got so many wonderful clients that is now fitting all those in. And that's where I'm now starting to look for other people to work with outside of the subcontractors that I use. And one of the things I've been passionate about for years is creating employment in Northern Ireland. And therefore, I'd love to see the company scaling with local talent, obviously complemented by global talent, because now technology has killed distance and the people that we work with are all over the world. So today I've been to India, I've been to Romania, I've been to England, I've been to Belfast, I've been to Dublin, I've been to Boston, and I haven't left my office. And that's the nature of work as it currently exists. So I'd love to see local talent, I'd love to see global talent, and I'd love to see a successful business that makes an impact. And I have a smile on my face working with all my clients, and they walk away with a smile on the face, knowing they've paid a reassuringly sufficient amount of money that I'll be here tomorrow, next year, and the year after that as well.
I thought that almost sounded like a song whenever you were talking about all the places you'd been to. Very good, very good. And what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business?
You have to, if you've got the desire for it, the biggest thing between going into business and not going into business is literally making that first step. And that can be scary. I do say prepare for it to help the landing. So over the years, I've advised people, they've went, right, I just quit, it's time. And then you go, well, who's your client base and what's your product and how you set up, your people, your finance, your operations and everything else, all the usual pillars to get a business up and running. And they go, well, now I'm going to do that. But 3 and 6 and 7 months later, when the cash starts to run out because you have to fund yourself every month and you take on some of those clients who may not be the clients that you want to work with or may not pay on good time, or you do far more than you need. And then you forget because you're desperate to get the money and run the hours to actually get your next pipeline of clients over the line. That's messier. So it's all possible. You can do it. And sometimes putting yourself in that crisis situation or burning platform situation is the best thing that creates the best motivation. I always sort of say a hungry person will eat if they want to. But if you can build up that little bit of client base, do a little bit in your own time if you've got a current job, start to test some of your products and test some of your messages in the market and go out and get some help. Lisburn Castlereagh Council, for example, offer an advisory service. We can get support 30 hours or 30 hours support and then some more, all those things play into, but just build and build and build. Give yourself a little bit of cash runway and client runway and work runway and a little bit of experience. And if you ease into it in that direction, that can give you the confidence and that can prepare the bank balance to allow you to just remove the regular monthly salary that someone's paying with your own salary that you're paying yourself. It's worthwhile. It really is. I have to say, when I'm sitting there on a Saturday or Sunday working, and you're sitting before and you were maybe do that for your employer, you felt a little bit, for want of a better phrase, kind of cheated. You're overworking. When you're doing that for yourself, there's a lot of gratification for it. But remember, the mistakes will be yours as well. And those you have to eat. Just make sure they're not expensive.
And if you started your business again, is there anything you would do differently?
Go sooner. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, I literally would go sooner. It's interesting. I don't shout a lot about what I do because I'm in that, you know, easing into my business space. But people find out very quickly. And I spend a lot of time building a brand on LinkedIn, you know, over the last 18, 24 months. And you'd be amazed how quickly you can get to 20, 30, or as I have at the moment, I think it's about 40,000 connections. And you don't need 40,000 connections to get a business. If you've 100 people who are each willing to give you $1,000 each, that's a business. You know what I mean? It's really amazing. But if you can build your own personal brand, and social media and digital tools are out there that allow you to do, you know, this is Zoom, you can record a video or webinar, tell people about yourself, your product, let them know you're there. And that's the key bit. If you don't tell people you do it, and you don't let people know that you're willing to do it, and that that's a service that you offer, then nobody's going to know. So I would have started earlier. I would have told people earlier. I would have built up that network earlier, and I would have probably tried just to launch some other products and some other things, because it's all learning. And that's the fun bit for me, is the process, you know, learning all about what works and what doesn't work, and then not being too proud. You start with one idea, and that might be your live stream. And then you quickly realize, you know, that someone may not want to pay for it. So you have to do that little bit of market testing. Just because you love it doesn't mean someone else does. And all that preparation, jump early, try things. You know, you don't have to have a perfect product, a perfect marketing message, a perfect setup. Just do a little bit and see what it looks like, see how people react, and then reflect and go again and go again. Build the runway, start as early as you can. It's not going to be that expensive. And then go from there, you know, having literally taken the time to watch what's happened, to focus on the stuff that's worked well and double down on that. And the stuff that didn't work well, change it, stop it. Or if you're not doing something, start doing that and experiment, and then run hard at your dream.
And if somebody wanted to get in touch, I wanted to reach out, Kieran, what would be the best way to be able to get in touch with you?
There's two probably best methods. So if you go to gilmurray.co.uk, which is GILMURRAY.co.uk, that's my website. It talks about all the services I offer. Or if you jump on LinkedIn, I'm on that most days. And from that, I give away a tremendous amount of free content. And the reason is, when folks look at that content, they go, wow, I can't imagine giving away all that for free. And my answer to that has always been, well, if you tend to give things, you tend to get things more than anything. And if I'm willing to give away that for free and you get that much value, imagine the value you get if you actually paid for all of my expertise.
Love that, Kieran. Love that. So Kieran Gilmurray of Digital Automation and Robotics Limited, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been fantastic hearing about you and your story. So thank you very much for sharing.
Absolute pleasure. I wish everyone success in their business. And if I can help them, please let me know.